to another episode of Be Growth Driven, where we talk to the top achievers, the top business owners, experts in their field, bringing the information of how they do what they do, the challenges they've encountered. We want the life lessons that these top achievers have gone through to be recorded and available for you. And so that's what we do here on Be Growth Driven. We want to help inspire, innovate, and help you grow. So without further ado, we have a very special guest, a good dear friend of mine. His name is Gus Calabrese. He's an international entrepreneur, speaker, event creator, professional networker. This guy knows people who knows people at the very top of the chain of everything. He operates 4 privately held companies. He's produced events for over 500,000 individuals, and he's a master of creating event environments that encourage networking and personal connecting. And Gus and his partner have a video and event series that help individuals to advance, couples particularly even too, in their personal, professional, and financial lives. And so without further ado, I want to welcome a good friend of mine, Gus. Gus, welcome to Be Growth Driven. Good to have you on.
Hey, Joel, thanks for having me here. This is exciting.
Oh,
Thanks.
man,
I love that intro.
I was looking forward to this. So looking forward to this. You know, I gave people kind of a little bit of an introduction about who you are, but maybe, kind of give us your version of who you are. Like I gave you the little professional version of that, but like, tell the people watching, like a little bit about who you are.
Well, I go by the events guy. I've been producing events. I joke. I've been producing events professionally. I mean, getting paid for it since the early 2000s. But I did my first event when I was 8 years old. We started a lemonade stand, and the lemonade stand, I was like, this is no way to make money. I think we made $1. This is no way it's going to work. So we created a circus in my friend's backyard, and we borrowed the neighbor's dog and put like a cape on it and called it the lion. And we charged people $1 came in. And I think we made $6 that day. So I've been doing events all my life, but I started doing it for real, making money in the early 2000s. So doing it
I
for a
love
few
it.
years.
I think every entrepreneur, right? They have some business they started with like when they were 8, because it's like you did this. I know, like me and my brother, we had like a curb painting business. We had lawn mowing business. I mean, we sold some lemonade that didn't do well. We lost money, but you got to have the right business partners. We had some bad partners, our kid neighbors down the street, but we all entrepreneurs. It's like, if you go back, a lot of these people all had like the lemonade stand, like they were figuring out, like I came from little means, and like whatever we did, like that's how we had money,
Yeah, ditto. It's ditto. And it's so funny. My first real job out of college, I was 21 years old, and they gave me a company car, and they said, we don't want to see you for 6 weeks. And we had pagers and an unlimited phone thing. And I couldn't wait to get out. Everybody's like, oh my God, it's the best job in the world. You don't have to go to an office. I'm like, I want my own business.
right.
Yeah, so it was crazy. Yeah.
I love it. So you're very, very early on, you're an entrepreneur, and you kind of fast forward, like what got you into be known as the events guy?
Well, as people remember, I'm old enough that I came through the first .com era. Let me step back. I was working for the Philadelphia Inquirer and Daily News, and I was selling advertising in 1995. And for 5 years, sold advertising. And I sold a straight commission. And most people, and this was after I had 3 car lots. And I went through a divorce, and things got ugly and everything. So then I got to get a real job. I had to get a job that made money. So they paid me 25% of what I sold. And a full page ad in the Philadelphia Inquirer in 1995 on a Sunday was $125,000 for one day. I'm like, where the hell do I make 25% of $125,000? Because I just spent 5 years owning car lots, and my monthly nut was ridiculous. And I'm like, wait, you're giving me a desk and a phone, you're paying all my expenses, and I can make 25% of what I sell? Like, shit, I wasn't making that my own business. So the Inquirer had a circulation of about 1.1 million when I started in 1995. Then this little thing came along called the internet, and the internet took their circulation from 1.1 to 600,000 readers in the course of 5 years, and the circulation went like this. Now, it wasn't uncommon for my paycheck to be 30,000 plus a month on straight commission back in the 90s.
Wow.
Yeah. I leave the Inquirer because this internet thing seems like it's going to take off for me, and I take a job making like 30, I don't know, maybe 35,000 a year. Like I like what I was making a month. I take a job for a year, and so but the reality was I wanted to learn this business. I got into the marketing business of selling websites and banner ads, and email marketing wasn't even being sold at that time. This has been in 2000, about 1999, 2000, and with Philly.com. The Basically we had a little bit of a recession because of the attacks on the World Trade Centers and stuff like
Right.
that, and it brought the business down, crashed the .com bubble. I got into a couple other businesses, and I bought a company. I wound up buying a company that had a magazine and a little email list, and we thought email marketing might grow. So we started building this email marketing list, and then our clients started asking us, hey, can you bring people into our venue? Can you put like we're slow on Tuesday nights. What can you do to bring people into the venue? So we started creating events that they would pay us to bring people into their venues and bring people into different places. And we were doing this hundreds of times a year for all our various clients. That's
Right.
sort of how I got hardcore into the events world. And the events kept growing. I mean,
Interesting.
yeah, we started with 15 people at happy hour. We got dollar a head to I've done events to 20,000 people.
Well, and this topic, some people might be wondering, well, why are you guys talking about events on a business podcast, right? So it's like, number one, we want to know the journey because I love it. Like the key thing between an entrepreneur is you got to have that tenacious spirit that you just don't stop, you know, and when you get kicked, you get back up and you smile and you go back at it again. However,
Yeah,
the other side of why we're talking about this topic of events is really along the lines of like there's a lot of businesses out there that realize, hey, they got to get known more. They need to connect with their audience base and actually discover more people that could be part of their audience base that they didn't realize could be. And events are a great way to do that
yeah. I
if done right.
truly believe you can use events to market any business, or you increase your business through events. I did, and I didn't even realize it. I didn't even have an event mindset at the time. But when I owned my car businesses, I used to do ladies' night. And I would say, come to my shop, and I would clean the shop up when I put chairs out, and I'd say, bring your owner's manual, and I'd serve wine and cheese and stuff like that. And I was a local mechanic, and this is after I had a white collar job, like came out of college. I was a local mechanic because nobody ever reads their owner's manual in their car.
Right.
You buy an $80,000 car, and nobody looks at the owner's manual. Yeah. So I used to teach them like how to read their owner's manual, how to not be taken advantage of, and it just they who do you think they're going to trust when they need work on their car at that
Right.
level? It was the guy who was doing the free event that taught them how to read their owner's manual.
Right, and the marketing guy in me is like, "Hey, that's a beautiful funnel," because
Yes.
you're I always try to preach to clients like, "Hey, you want the guy that's gonna spend the money or the guy or gal that's gonna spend money over here? Like, that's an expensive marketing thing, but this wine and cheese night for the ladies to teach them how to do this, like, that's a lot less expensive to market
Oh, 100%.
and get people into, and it's way upstream. They're gathering information, they're learning, they're like the model here, guys, take note of that. Like right there, like that's a brilliant strategy right there of how you really get known. But now continue on. I love this. This is
Yeah.
valuable stuff.
And along those lines, so before I got into the automotive business, I was actually in the oil business, and I was selling oil. Like the job where I had the company car, I was selling oil to very large industrial operations,
Okay.
and it, we took care of your client all along the way, and birthdays and anniversaries, and wined and dined them. So when I got in the automotive business, I was doing the same thing. I was sending out birthday cards. When's the last time you got a birthday card from your auto repair guy? When's the last time you got, I bought my best clients Christmas trees, and for a Christmas gift and stuff like that. So just those fun things of keeping in touch with your customers. And we do it. We do it today. We use a company called Sugar Wish that is $20, I think, and people get to go into this company and pick out old fashioned candy. And it costs us $20 to reconnect with the customer, and with that, they get an email from you say, "Hey, somebody bought your Sugar Wish." Then they get to choose their candy. Then the candy arrives and it's got a picture of Ashley and I going, "Thank you for being our customer."
I
And
like that.
then, yeah, it's awesome. It's a $20 touch point that you don't have to package up a gift or do something, all that stuff. All you do is get an email address or cell phone and send it out. We use that all the time.
Right. Oh man, that's brilliant. I love those types of things because we love to do
Ye-
the unique things that stand out, like, go above and beyond and get clients that type of stuff. What do you think? What do you think some of the key strategies were that's helped you be successful in this event space? As I mean, you've done thousands of events, and what would you say would be like the three common strategies that, without fail, they just work?
Um, for the execution of the event, knowing your cost going in, and your costs are almost always going to be higher than you think. But knowing those costs and knowing when to say, "Hey, this isn't going to work," pulling that out if the costs are too high. Um, Number two, and I someone asked me last year, what's your superhero strength? And when it comes to events, I can see into the future. I can see where a minor detail is going to unrail this event down the road, and mainly because it's happened to me before. I've done enough events that I've seen just about everything. And number three, checklist. We
Right.
talk about in the world of building a business, we still talk about standard operating procedures. We have checklist upon checklist upon checklist of making sure everything is right because there were times like we are doing a business networking event and we had to check people in. Back in the day, we had to use a paper system to check people in.
Right.
We for, we forgot pens. Like, all right, put that on the
Yeah.
checklist.
Add that to the SOP, right?
Yeah, add that to
For
the
those of you
SOP.
for those of you that don't know what an SOP is, standard operating procedure. And if you want tips on how to get one, just reach out to us or Gus or whoever, and
Yeah.
we'll give you templates and examples. It's a lifesaver, right?
Oh,
Like those
yeah.
types of things. I love this.
Yeah. So the just having the checklist after checklist after checklist, and we have that for our marketing. We have that for when we create our business or our event website. We have it for day of event. We have it for post event. We have a checklist for everything.
Love it. I love it. I love it. What would you say, like, some of the biggest challenges, like in the event space? What's the challenges you've seen? I mean,
Um,
how has it changed? Because I mean, let's just face it. Over the last 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, business in every industry has changed.
uh, there's a key challenge in the events industry. I'm not educated in events. Meaning I've only taken one class and got certified, and that was this year in the event space. And I've been doing this for a long time. But I attended a couple other seminars and stuff like that. And when this woman, she just sold her company for about $15 million in the event space. And she said the number one challenge is getting people in the room. 100%. That is the number one challenge. I don't care if you're doing an event and you got 25 of your relatives coming over and 25 have said yes, five of them are not going to show up. And I don't care who
Right.
you are or what you do. I've had one event in my life that everybody who bought a ticket showed up, and that was firemen and policemen. We did a lobster festival for firemen and policemen. And I'm still, to this day, I mean, it was 10 years ago, I'm still talking about like everybody showed up. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. It's going to be a rare few, right? Basically. So and that's why a lot of times you'd see like events where they oversell it, because, hey, they're trying to make sure the seats are full.
Right,
Simple as that, right?
right.
Uh, what about, when it comes to, when you start dealing with all these variables, so you're dealing with all the aspects from AV to entertainment to speakers to, making sure the experience for those attending is top notch, right? Like, how do you keep all this stuff straight?
Well, in the scheme of business, just in general, as a scheme of being a human being, you can only manage seven things. If you have a if your wife gives you a list and reads off a list of 10 items, go to the grocery store and get these 10 items. You're only gonna remember seven of them. You're gonna come home and not get the other two. Now it's easier today. We have phones and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna say 7's stretching it, man. I might do 3 and max
100%.
5 of my own.
And the military is based on this. I mean, the military has squads, and and they go up from there. But platoons and squads, and they go up from there. But so knowing you can only manage so many things, and then knowing when to delegate the other stuff, and that's key in the events. The largest event, or I shouldn't say the largest, the most complex event I ever did. We did a 15,000 person bar crawl. Now I've done larger
Wow. Okay.
people, but what made this event complex was we had 106 bars. By the way, 5 of them didn't open that day. They said they would, they didn't. We had 106 bars. We had 15,000 people. We had 10 neighborhoods. Um, we had three people working at each bar for us that we had never met. We had to come up with a strategy. We had an app that we built that we loaded the night before, not knowing if we get approval from Apple and Android to push this app out. But where we had to do when we realized how big the scope of this project was when we first started it, we actually partnered with our biggest competitor. And then we hired two other of our competitors to manage different aspects of the event because we knew with the resources we had, there was no way we could do it ourselves. So going back, you have to delegate each one of those areas, and that might mean, going with a partner
Yeah.
to make those happen.
What what would you say, like, to pull these types of things off? Like, how is things like networking? Because a lot of people they're looking at events but they don't do a lot of networking. How would you say networking has impacted like what you're the success you found in these things?
Networking's been everything. We talked about Joel and I had a short conversation about an event before this. There's an event for industry professionals that has about 10,000 people at it. That go for industry professionals has about 10,000 people at it. We do events all over North America, and we need hotels. We need suppliers. We go to that event. We meet all these people. There's not tens of thousands of hotels in this country. We meet these people and we build a trust with them before we wind up spending hundreds of thousands of dollars at their hotel. And it's because we network with them beforehand. We network with our attendees by going to events they attend. The network is everything. And that's not
Right.
just for the events business, that's for every business.
Wow. Okay. So, I mean, and where have you found the best places to network and connect? I mean, because that's important too. Like I always, I guess I think of it like on networking because I love networking and going to conferences, events where you meet people. It's like, you got to figure out how to get in the rooms. And
Yeah, so
that leads you to things like what have you found to be the most successful way to get into the rooms?
Depends on your business. So in the Philadelphia market where we are, I actually own two networking companies, and
Okay.
I don't even think Joel knew this. I own two networking companies in the Philadelphia area. If you're a local based business, there are so many resources out there that have these events. The chambers of commerce, the Rotary, the BNIs. If you're looking to grow your business, I 100% suggest going to a networking event that's local. There's usually breakfasts, lunches, dinners. There's things on the weekends. Go to these events. If you're a national based or internationally based business, you're going to have to seek out the big conferences, the trade shows, the industry specific ones. uh, Write the check. If you're doing business nationally, internationally, I'm assuming your product is bringing enough revenue that you can afford as one of your marketing arms to attend conferences and go out there. And we do it. I mean, we just came from a big conference, so we paid some nice money to be there, but we walked away with business. So it, it was all networking. It was fun. So.
Right. And that goes to the point, like, once you do these networking events, like, it's like you never know who you're gonna meet that's, like, one step away or, is gonna help you one step away from who you need to meet, right?
I'll tell you the greatest sale of my life. It wasn't the biggest sale. It wasn't anything crazy. It was just a feather in my cap, and I was young when it happened. I worked for the oil company. I was at a business event. I met the people from DuPont. DuPont owns their own oil company. They had a product that competed directly against my product. I met them at an event. If I wasn't at the event, I wouldn't have met them. I sold them on my product. I showed them that my product was more cost effective to them than the product they were buying from their parent company. And my boss was literally like, Gus, you can't sell DuPont. They own their own company. And I signed them into a 3-year contract. And I was working for a 100-year-old company. They didn't have 3-year contracts. I sold them into a 3-year contract. I showed them this was better. But
Was
that
that kind of was that something you
but
made up on the fly right there or what?
the guys, they said, we want to sign a 3-year contract, a 3-year contract. And I said, no problem. We'll do that. Yeah, I didn't know if we could do it. I committed first. I'll figure it out. When we
Right,
heard
no.
it, but my boss was like, he was shaking his head. He's like, "You can't sell DuPont." How could you? And it was just, I did. But if you know anything about these large manufacturing or industrial operations, you cannot walk in off the street and say, "Oh, I'm going to go to the shop and talk to the guys." Even when I got there and I had the invitation to come in, I had to go through a half hour of what I call explosive training. This is a dangerous facility. I had to learn what would happen if there was an emergency, watch a video, get my car inspected, all this other stuff, wear a hard hat. There was no way I would have ever met those people if I wasn't at a networking event.
Right. Well, and I've, you and I both go way back for a long time. For those of you that are watching, Gus and I have been friends for a long time. We met at a conference. We met at an event.
Yeah,
And it's like, so I love what you're talking about there because it's like you got to put yourself in the room, and then sometimes the rooms that you wouldn't expect that you'd put yourself into. So
yeah,
it's like it's I found the most some of the most beautiful connections in those types of situations, and I found the most amazing opportunities in rooms that would typically I wouldn't go to. So I'm a marketing guy. Typically I should be showing up at marketing events and those types of things and leads con and all that. And I actually don't go to those. I actually go
yeah,
to the ones that are like industry specific that I'm trying to niche down in. And I go join the masterminds and I go join the small intimate groups because usually, and here's what's interesting I found is like in those small intimate groups are the quiet, heavy hitters.
I tell realtors, go into a room full of doctors. I tell lawyers, go into a room full of realtors.
Right.
Don't go where all the realtor or all the other lawyers are hanging out.
Or,
Yeah,
do the chamber, sure. Do the
yeah,
chamber, the BNI, do all of those things, but then go find these niche ones and say, I'm curious, I want to learn. That's what you
I
know,
tell I tell, and this we had huge success with this in the Philadelphia market. I run into the typical contractors, the roofing guys, the HVAC guys, the guys that do driveways. I'm like, come to my business networking event because there's no one else in your industry at that event. And you'll be the only person. I guarantee you'll walk with business or you'll walk with leads.
right.
You know,
I mean, so a lot of things, we're sharing, for some people watching and listening to this, we're sharing things that they understand. So, the question I think you and I both would ask those types of people, are you doing it? And
yeah,
if you're not
100%.
doing it, if you're not doing it, why aren't you doing it? Are you winding down your business, growing your business? If you're trying to grow your business, right? These are the things that we just gotta you just gotta get out of your comfort zone. And the more you do it, the more you're gonna feel comfortable with it. Right.
I'll say something hard here. If you're not trying to grow your business is not going to last. Um, in the next 5 years, especially with AI, and I don't care what business you're in, if you're not staying ahead of this curve, you're going to be in serious trouble.
Right. Well, and I always envision it kind of like even for us, like I've my job every single day as the owner of the business is I have to push fuel on the fire. I have to dump the coal, dump the petro, dump the whatever the napalm, whatever I gotta go get, I gotta go light the fire and keep it
Yeah,
hot.
yeah,
And so, and so you and I met actually within the Grant Cardone, ecosystem, the 10X community. Um, how, what brought you and I both to that same community was a desire for personal growth, without a doubt. How do you continue your personal growth alongside of all these businesses that you're involved in, all the events you're running? I mean, you got a busy life. You and Ashley are always on the move, right? And that personal growth takes dedicated time. Like, how do you do that?
yeah. Well, you just said it's dedicated time. You have to, just like you have to eat, you have to take care of your health. You have to take care of your mental awareness and building. I think of Warren Buffett. he spends, I forget how much percentage of his time, like 20 to 40% of his day reading. And how old is he? In his 80s? Yeah, you're
Mm.
constantly feeding your mind, constantly learning what's coming down the pike, constantly learning um, what to do next. It's interesting. I'm in my 50s. I was struggling with the thought of retirement. And then about 4 years ago, I gave myself permission not to retire. Like I was looking at this retirement thing, and I'm going, you know what? I really like what I do. I'm having fun, and I'll just keep doing this until I don't have fun anymore, or until this becomes a job. I hate to say that, it becomes a chore. But part of that is constant learning, constant
Right.
moving yourself forward. I mean, I just did a master class in AI a couple of weeks ago. Pretty wild where this is gone.
Well, yeah, so you got to constantly stay ahead. Like I do the same thing. I'm like, all right, I don't understand this. All right, let's and the quick I try to attack it with speed. Like the quicker that I get at it,
Yeah.
the quicker I can, attack it, the better off I'm going to be. What do you think along this whole journey, if you were to share like two of the most important lessons that you've learned, what would you say those be? What those would be?
You have to have a very supportive partner. I have a great relationship. She's my partner's over there waving, and Jill knows Ashley. You and your partner have to be on the same team. I think that's number one. And number two, you have to have a desire to serve your audience or clientele. You have to be like wanting to put on the best foot forward, not being in it for the money. You have to be in it to provide a great service and a great product. And Joel and I, through the 10X community, we met some. There's some pretty wildly successful people in that community, and they could easily just sit back and do nothing for the rest of their lives, but they always are pushing harder than everybody below them. I hate to say that, but like everybody who's lower, I think Grant Cardone himself is probably one of the hardest working individuals I've ever met. And I don't. I also could say I'm not a Grant's level yet. I don't have the
Well,
dedication
the
yet.
the concept is water only rises to its highest level, right? So,
Right,
like the water of your team when you're leading a team, like even in some cases, your partner, right? Like in my case,
yeah,
I'm the main driver. I'm the main visionary and driver in our organization,
right,
right? And even Audrey will only rise just shy of that.
right,
Right? So, if I'm not liking what I'm seeing and the same thing trickles down, like, if I'm not liking what I'm seeing happening, I need to start asking the question, "Where's it breaking down above that?"
right.
Right? So, because that breakdown above that, you gotta shore that up, especially if you're the entrepreneur, you're the captain, so to speak, in that
Yeah,
regard.
100%.
So, what is I got the final question for you. Because this is the Be Growth Driven podcast, right? We're talking about, you know, growth. We're talking about it's real simple. Be growth driven. What does that mean to you?
I think it's just what we were just talking about. You always have to step forward, move forward. Um, if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. So there's no middle ground. You just can't stay even. Inflation will kill you. So
Right.
you have to just yeah. I make whatever how much you make a year, and you get a 5% increase in salary, and you're not looking to go bigger in your career and or your business. You're going to lose money over the next couple of years because you didn't grow. So being growth driven is having that mindset to always move forward, always do what's next, always looking for a new opportunity. That
Right.
new opportunity could be a different customer within a different customer, bigger package. I'll tell you, in our own business, and this is kind of crazy, we used to sell one ticket. We sold a ticket. How many of those do you want? You want one or two or three? And those tickets were, $2,000 for lack of clarity here.
Right.
Um, one of our customers gave me the greatest idea, and I felt ignorant. She's like, "Why don't you sell teams of tickets?" And at first, I was pissed. I was like, why didn't I come up with that idea? And then we started selling teams of tickets. Now we sell yearly memberships, so
There
where
you
people
go.
can buy, you can spend, a company can spend money with us now and unlimited, and it's not, it's a lot of money to most people, but if we're solving that problem for that customer, it's a drop in the bucket, and it's just a price they pay for a solution they need.
Right.
So
So
we're
always
looking,
always innovating. Like
yeah,
you gotta always innovate. You know, always say, okay, what next? What next? And it
yeah,
doesn't mean you stop pushing on the thing that you just did. Like you got to
nah,
keep pushing on that. And that's the but if you're always innovating, I always think of it like, too, like you got to enter things with a spirit of curiosity. If you don't have that spirit of curiosity, right?
yeah,
It's like the closed hand versus the closed hand versus the open palms, right? Like
right.
you can't receive anything if you have closed hands.
I love it.
So man, I love that. I love that. Man, Gus, you've done some amazing things. I look forward to seeing where you and Ashley continue to go and everybody make sure, Gus, how can people follow you?
The events guy on all social media channels, probably the best way to do that. Just look up the
Events
Gus the
guy.
events guy or the events guy, and you'll find me. I'm
I
on
love it.
Facebook. Ashley and I have our own channel on YouTube. We have, we're on I call them the local networks, all the local social media channels. Best
I
way to
love it.
find us.
We'll make sure for any of you wanting to follow Gus, just look in the descriptions down below, up above, wherever they're at, and we'll make sure those links are there so that way you can follow Gus, the events guy. And if you have more questions, reach out to him, follow him, join one of their events.
Yeah,
Like they got their couples programs and things like that. Like join those events, follow them and definitely some great people to connect with. So Gus, I appreciate you jumping on and
Joe,
and being with
thank
us
you.
for another episode. So
Thank you so much for your time and
you
inviting me
bet.
onto this show. This is
You
awesome. It's fun.
you bet. And then until next time, for those of you watching, be great because nothing else pays.